WNBA Finals. And so I'll leave it there. I mean, I'm just obviously disheartened. I'm a human too. I have a family. I have 2 kids who are devastated by these comments. And so all I'll say is just, it's.
It was meant to be the one day of the year that there would be no more noise. Christmas morning in 2026, especially for Commissioner Cathy Engelberg and the WNBA front office. A much-needed break was provided by the holiday. The league leadership needed a break after a season marked by unparalleled scandal, racial strife, and locker room infighting in addition to record-breaking viewership. They needed the news cycle to be on something other than the internal politics of women's basketball, like the NFL or the NBA Christmas games. However, at precisely 1000 a.m., that peace was shattered by a notification that was sent out when families were receiving gifts and the sports world was still awake in Eastern Time. It wasn't a league news release. The WNBA's official account did not feature a highlight reel. It was a tweet from Nike that included a 30-second video that would undermine the commissioner's authority more than any controversy we've ever seen. Throughout the past 10 years, the From Anywhere commercial, which starred Caitlin Clark, went viral. According to reports, it caused complete panic-induced wrath inside the WNBA offices. You have to look beyond the basketball to see how a straightforward sneaker commercial could elicit such an emotional response from the top levels of the league. The power dynamics that have been changing underfoot for the past 2 years must be examined. The WNBA has operated on a very particular philosophy, the collective, for many years. The shield is the brand. The 144, which stands for every player is equal, every story matters, and no single athlete is bigger than the organization, is promoted by the league. Commissioner Engelbert has promoted a socialist approach to sports marketing as a means of shielding the league from unpredictability. However, the high-budget photography, A-list celebrity cameos from Travis Scott and the Kelsey brothers, and a swagger that seemed more like a movie trailer than a sports advertisement were all present when that video debuted on Christmas morning. That philosophy required a sledgehammer. It made a clear and loud announcement that there was number 144. After Caitlin Clark, there are all the others. Furthermore, witnessing one player become a legendary figure without the league's consent or oversight was a direct threat to the authority of a commissioner who has built a reputation on overseeing the league's ecosystem. According to reports, league execs were on the phone all Christmas Day discussing the specifics of the advertisement. This was not a montage of video from WNBA games. The WNBA logo is actually hardly noticeable, if at all, if you look attentively. Clark's personal brand is the sole focus of the advertisement. It depicts her on a driveway in the snow, surrounded by the current cultural icons, sinking shots from unattainable distances. It was an obvious message. The world asks, "Can you make it from here?" "From anywhere," she responds. It presents her as a cultural phenomenon that goes beyond basketball rather than as a player. According to insiders, Angel Burt thought this was a renegade operation. To make sure that marketing materials promote the WNBA brand, the league typically collaborates with partners like Nike. However, Nike was showing off by telling the WNBA that they don't require the league in order to sell shoes. All they need is Caitlin. For a commissioner, it's a horrifying realization. The knowledge that your biggest star has outgrown her league and the corporate sponsors are aware of it. However, the timing of this release adds an unavoidable degree of malice to the issue. We must discuss the unparalleled league in order to completely understand the fury in the front office. A few weeks prior to the release of this Nike advertisement, Breanna Stewart and Nafi Sakir's new 3-and-re league was the talk of the basketball world. This was meant to be the WNBA solution to the issue of the offseason. It was an equity-based league created by the players for the players with the goal of retaining talent in the U.S. and making money for the long-serving veterans. The commissioner has openly backed this effort, considering it an essential component of the WNBA's expansion plan. To persuade Caitlin Clark to join, they threw everything at her. According to leaked reports, they made her an unprecedented offer of over $1 million for a few weeks of work, much more than her WNBA pay. The offer was akin to that of Lionel Messi. What action did Clark take? No, she replied. She turned down the cash. She refused to be exposed. She made the decision to take a break, play golf, and avoid the limelight. Or so they believed. It seems like a calculated move to debut the From Anywhere commercial on Christmas Day, just as the professional league was attempting to gain momentum for its January tip-off. The elder guard of the WNBA claimed that Clark was losing out when she declined the unparalleled offer. They implied that by not playing, she was impeding the game's development. However, this advertisement quickly changed the course of events. The story is told via the view numbers. Clark's 30-second advertisement received 6 times as many views in a day as the unrivaled roster launch and reveal campaign put together. The establishment was publicly humiliated. It demonstrated that Clark could remain important without the unparalleled league. She was essential to the unparalleled league. It was disastrous for Commissioner Engelbert to see a shoe commercial overshadow her off-season strategy. It reaffirmed the notion that the supporters aren't devoted to the idea of women's basketball. They are devoted to the Caitlin Clark program. This realization deprives the commissioner of her leverage, making her work immensely more difficult. When a player has the keys to the entire kingdom, how do you control or discipline them? This leads us to the financial humiliation this advertisement reveals. Making the league appear affluent, aspirational, and professional is one of the commissioner's main responsibilities. Business is Kathy Angelberg's background. Diote was run by her. She is numerate. These figures are also dehumanizing. When you see Caitlin Clark interacting with NFL players and multi-millionaire rappers while sporting custom gear in a commercial that appears to have cost $5 million to produce, it stands in stark contrast to the WNBA's reality. That 30-second clip had a higher production value than the majority of WNBA broadcasts. Every viewer is reminded that while Clark is earning millions from Nike, Gatorade, and State Farm, the league she actually plays for offers her a rookie salary that, to be honest, wouldn't cover the cost of the catering for that commercial shoot. For Engelbert, this is a PR nightmare. She is currently attempting to promote the idea that the WNBA is a significant league while negotiating future collective bargaining agreements. However, this advertisement always shouts the opposite when it plays during an NBA or NFL playoff game. It makes it quite clear that the main money is not in the league. It empowers the Players Association to point at the screen and say, "Look at that. Look at the value she is generating. Why are we fighting for scraps?" It makes the league look cheap. It makes the leadership look incompetent for not capitalizing on this value sooner. There are whispers that team owners are calling Engelbert, asking why they aren't seeing a penny of this marketing explosion. The rage isn't just about jealousy. It's about business. The WNBA is being cut out of the profit loop of its own biggest asset. And Nike is laughing all the way to the bank. However, the most dangerous fallout from this commercial is happening inside the locker rooms, and this is where the commissioner's anxiety is likely at its peak. We have to talk about the A.A. Wilson factor. A.A. Wilson is a 3-time MVP, a champion, and by all traditional metrics, the best player in the world right now. She also has a deal with Nike. She also had a commercial released recently. But the internet is a cruel place, and the side-by-side comparisons started flying the second Clark's ad dropped. Fans and analysts immediately pointed out the difference in quality. Clark's ad was cinematic, moody, and high budget. Wilson's ad was criticized as being simple, low effort, and visually flat. The narrative that formed online was instant. Nike is sabotaging AA to prop up Caitlin. Whether that is true or not is irrelevant to the commissioner. What matters is the perception. This commercial creates a massive rift between the league's 2 biggest stars and their respective camps. It validates the conspiracy theories held by many veteran players that the corporate machine is rigged against them, no matter how hard they work or how many rings they win. Engelbert has spent the last 2 years trying to put out fires regarding player conduct, hard fouls, and the targeting of Caitlin Clark. This commercial just poured a tanker of gasoline on those fires. How can Aho Wilson not feel slighted? How can the other veterans not feel disrespected when they see a rookie getting the Michael Jordan treatment while they get the generic treatment? This breeds resentment. It breeds anger. And that anger manifests on the court. The commissioner knows that if the 2026 season turns into a revenge tour where veterans are headhunting Clark because they feel disrespected by Nike, the product on the floor suffers. It turns basketball into a drama series. It risks injury. It risks scandals. And ultimately, it all falls back on the commissioner's desk. We also have to discuss the cameo power play in this commercial because it was a direct shot at the WNBA's history. In almost every major WNBA marketing campaign of the past decade, the strategy has been to honor the past. You bring in Cheryl Swoops, you bring in Lisa Leslie, you bring in Sue Bird, you show the lineage. It's a way of paying respect to the women who built the league. But in From Anywhere, those legends were conspicuously absent. There was no passing of the torch. There was no nod to the founders. Instead, Clark was validated by men. Travis Scott, a global hip-hop icon. Jason and Travis Kelce, the current kings of sports media. Michael Che from SNL. This was a deliberate choice by Nike to position Clark outside of the WNBA timeline. They are telling the audience she isn't just the next WNBA player. She is a pop culture icon who stands alongside the biggest male stars in the world. For the gatekeepers of women's basketball, the Cheryl Swoops of the world who have been critical of Clark's fan base, this is the ultimate insult. It says, we don't need your validation. We have Travis Scott's validation. It completely bypasses the hierarchy of the league. Commissioner Angelberg knows how dangerous this is. She needs the veterans to buy in. She needs the alumni to support the league. But when the face of the league is being marketed as separate from its history, it alienates the very foundation the WNBA stands on. It creates a civil war atmosphere between the new fans who only care about Clark and the old fans who care about the history. And the commissioner is stuck in the middle getting shot at from both sides. Furthermore, we need to revisit the Lucky Stars controversy to understand the personal nature of this conflict. Back in October 2025, reports surfaced of a contentious meeting where Commissioner Angelbert allegedly told players they should be on their knees thanking their Lucky Stars for the media rights deal she had secured. While she tried to walk back those comments, the damage was done. It painted her as an executive who felt the players owed her gratitude. It was a power play, a reminder of who signs the checks. This Nike commercial is the ultimate rebuttal to that comment. Is Caitlin Clark telling the commissioner without saying a word, I don't need to thank my Lucky Stars. I am the star. It demonstrates that her value is intrinsic. She brings the eyeballs. She brings the sponsors. She generates the revenue. The commercial effectively neuters the commissioner's authority. How can Engelbert tell Clark to be grateful for a league that pays her $76,000 a year when Nike is paying her $28 million? The math doesn't work. The power dynamic has flipped. The player is now the employer and the league is the employee. Angelbert is a smart woman. She knows that once a player realizes they are bigger than the governance of the league loses control. We saw it in the NBA with LeBron James. But this is even more extreme because the wealth gap between Clark and her peers is so much wider. There is also a looming threat that this commercial hints at. A threat that keeps WNBA owners awake at night. The breakaway for a long time, the question was, is Caitlin Clark good enough for the WNBA? The magnitude of this advertisement raises a new question. Is the WNBA big enough for Caitlin Clark? That question has been answered. The visuals, the global messaging, the From Anywhere tagline, it all suggests a global ambition that the WNBA currently cannot satisfy. The commissioner knows that the current CBA is a ticking time bomb. If the players opt out and if the league cannot offer Clark a compensation package that matches her value, what stops her from starting her own league? What stops Nike and Amazon from creating a Caitlin Clark World Tour that would dwarf the WNBA in ratings? It sounds crazy, but this commercial proves the money is there. If Nike is willing to spend this kind of budget on a 30-second spot, they are willing to invest in whatever vehicle delivers the most return. Right now, that vehicle is Caitlin Clark, not the Indiana Fever and certainly not the WNBA as an institution. This commercial is a warning shot. It says, We built this star and we can take her anywhere. The rage in the commissioner's office is actually fear. The fear of obsolescence. The fear that the WNBA is just a stepping stone for Clark, not the destination. Let's dig deeper into the global deception that also caused a stir. The commercial's tagline, "From Anywhere," implies a global reach. It shows snow. It implies distance. It speaks to a universal audience. Yet, in a twist of irony that the internet pounced on immediately, Nike failed to release the associated merchandise internationally. Fans in Brazil, France, Spain, and China flooded the comment section, demanding to know why they couldn't buy the shoes. While this is technically a Nike logistics failure, it blows back on the WNBA. Commissioner Engelbert has been talking non-stop about global expansion. She wants a team in Toronto. She wants to play games in London. But when the biggest marketing push in the history of the sport alienates international fans by treating them like ghosts, it hurts the WNBA's brand. It reinforces the perception that the league is amateur hour, unable to coordinate a global launch for a global star. It's another instance of the infrastructure failing the talent. Engelbert takes the heat for this because she is the face of the business, and right now the business looks uncoordinated. We must also consider the psychological impact on the upcoming season. This commercial has effectively drawn a line in the sand for the 2026 season by elevation. Please share your thoughts in the comments section, subscribe, and enable all notifications so you don't miss anything. We'll see you in the next one after you click the video on the screen.